What a fun game. I am juiced. We're going to talk about the Pistons' big win over the Orlando Magic in just a moment. All right, welcome back to the Pistons Jack YouTube channel. We're getting straight into it. I am hyped. I am buzzing. The Pistons, after another scary start in the first quarter, come back and absolutely dismantle the Orlando Magic and put up 135 points to defeat them, 135-116. And we're going straight into it. We're not messing around. I'm going to be all over the place for the next 10 minutes, but Cade Cunningham is a superstar. He had a slow start in the first 4 games, and he had a slow start in this first quarter. But from the second quarter onwards, he settled down. He played at a beautiful pace. The 3 ball started dropping. And then in the second half, he was getting whatever he wanted. And he had the float game going. He had the spin move on Franz that left him in the dust and looking lost. He had I think he had a pull-up 3 at one point. He was getting to the line a little bit. That man is banged up. His face is bruised. His eye, he got poked in the eye. And of course, no foul on Jalen Suggs on the drive there. Suggs gets free throws. But man, 30 points, 10 assists. And you know what the best stat of the night is? 0 turnovers. I repeat, 0 turnovers for Cade Cunningham. Just a masterful performance in those. After the first quarter, I thought his second quarter was decent, and then his second half, he was exceptional. The Pistons got down by as many as, I want to say, 14 or 15 in the first. It was looking ugly again, I'm not going to lie. I was tweeting out, you need to change your starting lineup. And maybe they still do, but I'll say to start that third quarter, after they worked all the way back to get the lead at the half, I think it was 65-64, maybe 56-55. Cade was the one that came out to start that third and went, nah, we're not starting slow. And the Pistons were in a great rhythm. And they were able to get it out to, I think, 16 in the third. The Magic got it back down to 8 or 9 with just ridiculous amounts of free throws. Ridiculous. I'm not going to act like the Pistons don't have a fouling problem, because they do, particularly in that first half. Like, some of the fouls that the Pistons were giving up were just kind of a bit unnecessary, as much as you love like the physicality. But man, Franz and Paolo, all they had to do was put their head down, and they were at the line. They lived there. I think between the two of them, Franz shot 11, Paolo shot 17, but they only made 17 of those 28. So, you know, they shot poorly there, but that wasn't the difference in the end. And I'm glad the Pistons could overcome that, because some of the fouls they were drawing towards the end of the third and start of the fourth, those two, was just like getting to the point where, like, are we for real? Like, I understand they're big and they're hard to stay in front of, but like, I feel like halftime they're initiating the contact, and then you've got Cade down the other end who's beaten up. And yeah, he doesn't sell contact the best, but he certainly absorbs it the exact same as the others, and he doesn't get the whistle as much. But you know, Cade overcame that, the Pistons overcame that, and they absolutely dismantled this Magic team. Orlando shot the ball well in the first quarter, and I think that's what gave them the hot start they had. Like, they were shooting like, I feel like they made 12 on the night. I want to say they were at least like 8 for 15 at one point in the first half, and maybe when we look back at this, that was kind of what gave them the early lead. But the Pistons starters were just a bit low on energy in the first. But Cade, like I said, second half, exceptional, good second quarter. And then, you know, he'll figure out the first quarter. Hopefully this is the game now that springboards him to be like, snap out of that slow start. And he's like, yeah, I'm Cade Cunningham. Like, sometimes he just looks a little bit passive, or he just doesn't look as confident in his shot. Even in the first quarter, he took a couple of pull-ups and missed almost badly for his standards. But you know what? Like, I will say tonight, he only hit the 1-3 and still didn't shoot it great, but everything inside the arc looked really good for the most part. Just exceptional in the paint, and I think he showed off his improved finishing. Team high, plus minus 27. We haven't even spoken about the defense from him. 3 steals, 3 blocks. He had a monster block, an absolute monster block on Jalen Suggs. You saw Suggs thinking he was going to get away with at least some free throws out of attacking Cade. It was just those two almost in the half court in transition. Cade just absolutely rises up, swats that. I think NBA players don't understand how long Cade's arms are. Like, he's 6'6", so he's big, but he's got a 7-foot wingspan, so he's always going to be able to, even if his timings are slightly bit off, which it normally isn't, like, unless you're like a huge wing, like with a big wingspan yourself, like he's just going to swat it, or you're at least going to, have to go to the line. And man, you will see on my YouTube shorts here, and if you follow me on Instagram and stuff, I'll be posting my reaction because I was filming. And I'll be honest, there'll be a few moments that censored out because I was going crazy in my apartment. But Cade Cunningham, player of the game, best game of hit for him for the season. Best game I've seen him play in a while, probably since game 2 of the playoffs against the Knicks. Just looked awesome. Like a true two-way performance in the second half. Like true two-way, and you're just like, wow, this guy's also the point guard, and he plays defense like that. He has that size, and he finishes like that. So I think that'll put anyone at ease that was slightly like concerned about Cade. I'm not trying to be that guy, but I was never concerned about him because this is what he does sometimes. But I think he's ready to go now. He's warmed up. I think playing Paolo and Franz as well, because they're kind of around him in the draft class. Please keep Paolo out of Cade conversations. He needs to do more than to be in those conversations. Like, I know he's been awesome in the playoffs at times, but I don't know, man. I just think Cade's such a better player, such a more winning player, in my opinion. I'm obviously a Pistons fan, but I love Cade's game. The next player I want to shout out, Duncan Robinson. Once again, like most of the starters, looked kind of lost in that first quarter and a half. The Magic, like some of the other teams have done, targeted him every possession. They knew the Pistons were going to switch in any pick and roll with Duncan, and Franz and Paolo every time would hunt Duncan and hunt that soft switch. And they would get Duncan, and I'm going to lie, Duncan got caught, whether they would blow past him or he'd have to foul them. So, and there was a time there I'm like, man, they might just have to put Duncan like on the bench because he's not really been able to shoot on offense, but it looks like he's losing his confidence here a little bit because he knows he's getting targeted, and then on offense he can't get open. But his second half was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. He finished with 15 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 4 or 6 from deep. Hit a couple of huge threes, late third, early fourth, just to keep the Pistons, keep them that buffer. And I thought it says he had a block here, but I think it was more of a steal that created a transition opportunity for the Pistons. I think his Houston game was his best game, but tonight I think was easily second best game. And you can see in the Pistons' 2 best wins this season, Duncan's played really well. And he was a plus 22, second highest on the team. So plus minus isn't everything, but I think that just goes to show, like, yes, he was getting targeted defensively, but he pushed through that. The team backed him in, and he delivered in the second half. And he was crucial. Jalen Duren, quietly, 21 points, 12 rebounds, a block, couple of assists, 5 turnovers, not great, but this guy's free throw shooting, 11 to 12, especially in the first quarter and the first half when offense was a bit of a struggle, him getting to the line and knocking him down is just something that I don't want us to take for granted, because we had a center in our past very similar to Jalen Duren who just could never hit free throws, and it really just absolutely sucks the life out of your offense when you're working your tail off, you get to the line, you get an O board and they foul you and you can't capitalize. Like, JD still has things to work on. He's by no means perfect, but the fact you can trust him to knock down, 11 of 12 free throws, like, I feel like he's almost working his way to an 80% free throw shooter. Without even looking at the numbers, that's just how I feel about him. And I think that's a huge thing that we should never underestimate with him and take for granted. Got to shout out Tobias Harris. We're going to do a lot of shout outs here, but Tobias, couple of crucial buckets. So towards the end of the third quarter, Cade checks out with the Pistons up 16. Orlando immediately going a 6-0 run in like that. And then I think Pistons struggle to keep scoring. Magic get a couple of free throws, like Franz splits a couple of times. I think it got back to like 7. And then Unk comes down off a bit of a post up, I want to say, mid-post, big AM1, just to get it back to 10. And I think at the 3-quarter time, the Pistons were able to keep a double-digit lead, which was huge while Cade was out, because for about 90 seconds there, it looked like the Magic were going to get it back to within a 1-possession game, with the momentum they had to close that quarter, or they're going to have to throw Cade back in. But Unk, some really crucial buckets there. He's always good for a couple of steals. And, just an efficient 23 points cannot be underestimated. Other players that I want to talk about, Javonte Green, before I forget, huge. 3 of 4 from deep tonight, 9 points. Have to shout him out. His jumper, I will be honest, I've been feeling a bit nervous every time he lets it fly, but he was confident with his stroke tonight, and the only field goal he missed was a wide open layup. But he's been a really nice pickup for the Pistons when he's been deployed in the right lineups. I love what I've seen from him. He fits the mold of this team. So shout out to him. And then Ron Holland. 2 of 5 from deep, 2 corner threes. Feel like he's becoming one of the more reliable corner point shooters. Another double-digit scoring game for him with 10 points. 3 steals. This man was diving on the floor. I think he drew a charge on Paolo. Of course, it gets overturned because that's how it goes with Paolo's whistle. Nonetheless, you still appreciate the hustle. And I just love the way he dived on the floor. He got a couple of dunks in transition off steals. Just everywhere. Just an absolute weapon. And I think if the Pistons make a change to the starting lineup, I do think it should be Ron in for Duncan Robinson. And I understand that impacts your spacing. But I think if the Pistons, as good as the starters were in the second half, if they get off to, and I said this in the last video, if they get off to a slow start in the next game, I think you got to take Duncan out quickly if he hasn't hit some threes. Get Ron in, get that energy injection in there, and just let him run around. And I know it impacts the spacing, but even if it's take Duncan out after 2 minutes, be quick about it, and then you get Ron in for 3 to 4 minutes, and then you can fix your spacing. Or if it doesn't work, just change it. But because when he steps on the floor, he's going to have a turnover or two. He might take a shot you might not like, although he's gotten a lot better at that. But he changes the game. He allows the Pistons, and Ausar does this, but Ron more so than anyone, I think, allows the Pistons with the way he can make plays on defense, with getting steals, to get out and run. And Ron, I've been saying this since he was a rookie last year, he is an automatic 2 points in transition. Every time he drives in transition, whether there's a person in front of him or not, it's 2 points. It might be free throws, it might be a dunk, it might be a Euro step, but he is so good in transition. And that's where the Pistons are at their best. So that starting lineup continues to struggle. I want to see him in earlier in the first, or maybe you start him for Duncan Robinson and you just start him for the first 3 minutes, then bring Duncan in. But those are my thoughts there. I don't expect that to happen next game, but that's just what I've been thinking watching this. And then I think we'll finish it here on Ausar Thompson. Started the game well, hit a nice turnaround. He did miss a couple of shots, 4 of 14 from the field, but I love the aggressiveness. And of course, if it's a loss, you might look at that and go, well, Ausar, 4 of 14. But with where he's at in his development, how much basketball he's missed, and where we want him to be as a player, as an on-ball creator, I'm fine with him getting up 14 shots, because in a game where I didn't really notice him too much, he had 12 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steals, 1 block, only 1 turnover. Little bit foul happy, had 4, but honestly, the whistle Paolo and Franz get, I wasn't too mad at most of those 4. So 3 or 4 from the line. I feel like he's gotten more confident there, and he hit a huge corner 3. I will say that was a big time play from him. I think that was in the third when they were making their run. So honestly, guys, all round team performance. Biggest takeaway though is Cade asserting himself, announcing himself for the season, and showing that he is a top 15 player in the NBA. He had a slow start, but this will be the game that I think that propels him. And yes, he's not going to finish with those stats every game of 30 and 10, but I think we see a different Cade from here on out. And that's just something to be excited about. So the next Pistons game isn't until Saturday in Mexico. So that'll be a fun one. But we'll break down that game in tomorrow's video. But just an awesome win, guys. So exciting. One of those games where you're just I love being a fan. I love being a fan of this team that works their ass off. And it just makes you want to yell at your TV. That's all I did for the last 2 hours. So appreciate you watching. Drop some comments below. Let's get hyped. But as always, go Pistons.